The morning sun beat down on the cracked sidewalks of South Central Los Angeles, and inside Bennett's Auto Works, the clang of wrenches, the low hum of air compressors, and the scent of engine grease hung thick in the air. It was just another busy Tuesday for the crew, except it wouldn't stay ordinary for long. In the far corner of the garage, 10-year-old Malik Cole sat on an overturned paint bucket, legs swinging, eyes sharp. He wasn't drawing on a tablet or playing with toys. He was watching, studying, soaking up everything like a sponge. While other kids were glued to cartoons or video games, Malik had always been fascinated by engines and how things worked. His father, Darius Cole, had worked as a mechanic at Bennett's for over 5 years. Whenever school was closed or his aunt couldn't babysit, Malik would tag along, happy just to be near the roar of engines and the smell of motor oil. He knew every socket size by heart, could name every tool on the pegboard, and mimicked the way his father checked belts and listened to strange noises in engines. Darius always said his son had the ears of a genius mechanic, but even he didn't realize just how true those words were. Just before 10 a.m., a sound thundered down the block like a beast, low, aggressive, and unmistakably powerful. Heads turned. A red Ferrari Spider, gleaming like liquid fire, rolled up to the open garage door. The mechanics all paused, some nodding, others raising eyebrows. Everyone knew what that car meant. Behind the wheel was Vivian Caldwell, a woman whose name alone could clear a room. She was the widow of a famous jazz club mogul and the current CEO of Caldwell Enterprises. She was known not just for her wealth and impeccable taste, but for a sharp tongue that could cut through concrete. She stepped out in a tailored emerald suit that shimmered beneath the shop's harsh lights, stiletto heels clicking across the concrete. Gold hoops glinted in her ears, and a leather designer bag, easily worth more than Darius's annual salary, swung from her wrist like a trophy. Her lips, painted bold red, barely moved as she spoke, but her voice carried like a judge's. "Gavel, this car needs to be fixed today. I've got a gala downtown tomorrow night, and I am not showing up in a rental." Mr. Bennett, an older man with oil-stained hands and a soft hat always tipped back on his head, stepped forward with a respectful nod. "Of course, Miss Caldwell. Let me bring my best guy over." He waved over Darius and 2 other mechanics, and they began circling the car, asking questions, lifting the hood, listening close. Malik watched the scene unfold like it was magic. The lines on that Ferrari were perfect curved like something sculpted from red silk. Its engine purred and popped like a wild animal barely leashed. He crept closer, drawn in like a moth to flame, and slowly reached out. His fingers barely grazed the hood, just trying to feel the power rumbling underneath. Then it happened. A sharp voice sliced through the air, making every man in the shop flinch. "What is that child doing near my Ferrari?" Vivian's words echoed like gunfire. Malik froze mid-touch, his brown eyes wide as saucers. Darius dropped his wrench with a loud clang and rushed forward, his stomach twisting. "Ma'am, I apologize, he's my son." He didn't mean, but Vivian wasn't hearing it. She marched across the floor, heels stabbing the ground. "Do you have any idea how much this car costs?" She hissed. "More than you'll make in 10 years, and you let a child near it? What kind of operation is this?" Malik backed away, heart pounding. His little hands clenched at his sides as shame filled his face. Tears welled, but he tried to hold them back. Darius stood between his son and the storm. "He's just curious," he said gently. "He loves cars. He wasn't gonna hurt nothing." But Vivian's voice rose again. "I don't care how curious he is. He could have scratched the paint. Do you know what a paint touch-up costs on this model? I want him gone. Now." The entire shop was silent. The sound of a dripping oil pan was suddenly deafening. Mr. Bennett stepped forward, hands raised. "Miss Caldwell, please. Malik's a good kid. He's here every so often when school's out. He don't bother no one." Vivian cut him off. With a wave, "Can you guarantee there's no damage? Can you cover it if there is?" Her eyes bored into Malik. "Children don't belong in places like this. You people need to learn accountability." Darius clenched his jaw so tight his molars hurt. He wanted to shout, to tell her no harm had been done, to protect his son's dignity. But he also needed this job. He had bills, rent, groceries, and no one else was hiring. "He'll stay in the back," Darius finally said, voice like steel covered in velvet. "He won't go near the cars again." But Vivian wasn't done. "That's not good enough. If he so much as looks at it again, I'll sue this shop into bankruptcy." Her words dropped like bricks. Everyone knew she had the power to do it. She had lawyers on retainer, properties all over town. One lawsuit and Bennett's would be gone. Darius looked at Malik, whose shoulders had drooped low like a kicked puppy. The boy whispered, "I'm sorry, Daddy, I didn't mean it." "I won't touch anything ever again." Darius knelt and hugged him tight. "You didn't do anything wrong, Malik. You were just curious." "That's not a crime." But Vivian heard him and scoffed. "Curiosity is expensive, Mr. Cole. Teach your daughter some limits before she ruins more lives." "She's my son," Darius muttered under his breath, but he didn't correct her further. It wasn't worth the fire. Mr. Bennett tried once more to calm the storm. "Please, ma'am, let us get to work. We'll take care of the car, and Malik will stay far out of the way." "You have my word." Vivian's eyes flicked to the Ferrari, then back to Malik, then to Darius. "This is your last warning. Next time, I don't talk. I act." She turned on her heel, her bag swinging dramatically, and disappeared into the office to wait. Darius exhaled slowly, rubbing his temple. He looked down at Malik, who was watching him with a mixture of fear and guilt. "Let's just get through today," Darius whispered. But deep in that moment, something had changed. Vivian had seen just a child, but inside Malik, something had been sparked. Not fear, something else. The same engine that drove that Ferrari now roared quietly in his chest. He would never forget the sting of that humiliation, or the fire it ignited. From the far edge of the garage, young Malik Cole sat silent and still, his big brown eyes following every move like a hawk. Tucked behind a stack of tires, he watched his father Darius and the other mechanics with laser focus. Every time they leaned over the Ferrari's engine, he noted which tools they used. Every new sound the engine made, he listened to with his ears wide open. It wasn't just curiosity, it was calculation. While the grown men scratched their heads and replaced parts one by one, Malik's mind whirred like a machine. His brain, sharp as a spark plug, was putting the puzzle together in ways the adults hadn't even thought to try. "Dad," Malik whispered once, but Darius didn't hear him. The shop was tense. Money was on the line, tempers were flaring, and nobody had time for a kid's voice, especially not after what happened earlier. So Malik stayed quiet, watching, listening. After nearly 4 hours, the crew had changed out a fuel injector, ran full diagnostics, even replaced a timing belt. The Ferrari purred a little smoother now, but the odd high-pitched whine was still there, barely noticeable, but definitely not right. Vivian Caldwell, standing in the corner with arms crossed and lips tight, had reached her boiling point. 4 hours and nothing? She snapped. "You charge me for parts I didn't need, waste my time, and still don't fix the problem? Do you understand who I am?" She didn't yell. No, Vivian's fury came cold and sharp, like glass underfoot. Mr. Bennett tried to smooth things over, but the tension in the air was thick enough to choke on. Darius finally stepped back from the hood, sweat shining on his forehead. "Maybe we should take it to the dealership," he said reluctantly. "They've got tools we don't," Vivian exploded. "Now you say that? After wasting my whole morning and hundreds of dollars on guesswork? This is beyond amateur hour. It's criminal." At that moment, when the whole garage felt like it was about to burst into flames, a voice spoke up small but steady. "Daddy, I know what it is." The entire shop froze. Everyone turned toward the stack of tires. Malik stood up slowly, wiping his hands on the legs of his cargo pants. His eyes, deep and calm, met the crowd of stunned adults. Even Vivian paused, confused that this was the same child she'd scolded like trash just hours earlier. Darius felt a jolt of fear and pride mix in his chest. "Malik, not now," he whispered, his voice tight. "Let the grown folks handle this." But Malik shook his head. "I really do know, Dad. I've been listening this whole time. I've seen this before." Vivian scoffed. "This is a joke. We're letting 10-year-olds diagnose Ferraris now." She turned to Mr. Bennett with a look of pure insult. "Is this your idea of professional?" Carlos and Reggie exchanged nervous glances. Everyone liked Malik. He was smart, respectful, but this wasn't the moment to play games. "Come on, lil man," Reggie said gently. "Let the uncles handle it, all right?" But Mr. Bennett, eyes narrowed with curiosity, held up a hand. He had known Malik since he was barely walking. The boy had always been different, curious. In the right way, patient, observant. "Let him speak," Bennett said. "Go ahead, Malik. What do you think?" Darius looked like he was holding his breath. Malik stepped forward, steady. "It's not what y'all been checking. It's not the ignition, not the fuel line. It's not electrical either. It's something smaller." Vivian rolled her eyes. But Malik didn't blink. "It's the secondary air filter," he said clearly. "Not the big one under the hood. There's another small one, tucked behind the panel on the left side. I heard the sound. It's too tight, like something trying to breathe through a clogged throat." Reggie frowned. "We checked the filter," Malik nodded. "Yeah, the main one, but not the hidden one. Dad talked about it once months ago when that yellow Lambo came in. Said some sports cars have extra filters nobody thinks to look at." Darius's eyes widened. He had said that. Just once, in passing. And Malik had remembered. Vivian crossed her arms. "So let me get this straight. The professionals missed something, and you expect me to believe a child figured it out by, what, listening?" Malik stood tall, even as his hands fidgeted. "Slightly. Yes, ma'am," he said simply. "I'm not trying to be rude. I just want to help." Bennett nodded to Reggie. "Check the panel," he said. "What's the harm?" 2 minutes later, Reggie popped off the side compartment with a screwdriver, reached in and pulled out a crumpled piece of plastic lodged deep inside the filter box. "You've got to be kidding me," he muttered. The whole crew gathered round as Reggie shook his head in disbelief. "It's melted halfway into the mesh. Must have blown in from the road and melted on the engine heat. Airflow's all jacked." Darius stared at his son. "You heard that?" Malik shrugged, a little shy now. "It didn't sound right. Like the engine was trying to breathe through a sock." Vivian blinked. For once, she had no sharp comeback. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Bennett smiled slightly. "Malik," he said, "you just saved us a whole lot of embarrassment." The room filled with murmurs of amazement. Even Carlos chuckled and clapped Malik's back. "All right, lil man," he said. "Looks like you got the goods." Darius knelt down and hugged his son tight. "That was incredible," he whispered. "I'm so proud of you." Vivian, silent, looked at Malik with a strange expression, part disbelief, part something softer. Then she turned to Mr. Bennett. "How soon can I have the car back?" she asked, her voice flatter than before. "Couple hours," Bennett said. "We'll run the system clean, no charge." Vivian nodded, then looked at Malik again. "Thank you," she said. Her tone didn't have its usual heat, just something quiet and maybe respectful. Then she walked off to the waiting room. Without another word, and just like that, everything changed. Malik hadn't just solved a mystery. He'd silenced a room full of grown-ups, stood tall in the face of humiliation, and reminded everyone that sometimes the smallest voice holds the greatest truth. And Darius knew, without question, that his son's future was roaring just like that Ferrari engine ready to take off. Mr. Bennett leaned on his cane and studied Malik closely. Over the years he had noticed how the boy paid attention to the tiniest things, how he asked smart questions, and how he remembered everything he read. The kid had a memory like fresh paint. Whatever touched it stuck. "Malik," he asked, his voice low and thoughtful, "exactly where is this filter you're talking about?" Malik stepped forward slowly, careful not to make sudden moves around the Ferrari. His hand pointed to a tight corner beneath a black housing cover. "Right there, Uncle, behind that piece. You gotta take off 2 parts to reach it. It's small, round, and I bet it's all gunked up." The grown men followed his hand with their eyes. That spot, they hadn't touched it all day. "Please, Dad," Malik whispered, looking at Darius with wide, sincere eyes. "Let me show you. I feel it in my chest. It's there." Darius saw something different in his son's eyes, like the boy had crossed a line today, stepped out of childhood and into something else. Maybe it's worth a look," Darius said slowly. Vivian Caldwell threw up her arms. "Are we really letting a child give instructions in my presence? This is absurd." "Ma'am," Mr. Bennett said calmly, "he won't lay a finger on your car. He'll just point. If he's wrong, fine, we lose nothing. But if he's right..." He let the silence say the rest. The whole shop stood still. Every man froze where he stood, holding breath like they were waiting for lightning to strike. Malik moved toward the Ferrari with quiet confidence. His shoes made soft scuffs on the floor as he passed. Vivian stood stiffly, arms crossed, her expression twisted with disbelief. "All right, Malik," Mr. Bennett said gently. "Show us." The boy leaned over, pointing exactly at the place he'd spotted earlier. "Take off that black part first," he said. "Then the piece next to it, the filters hiding behind both." Carlos grabbed his tool set and crouched low. "Let's see what you got, lil' man." One by one, he removed the screws Malik had mentioned. Darius and Reggie leaned in close. The others crowded around. Even Vivian, though visibly annoyed, couldn't hide her curiosity. A moment later, Carlos paused, his brow furrowed. "Well, I'll be," he muttered. "There is a little filter back here." It was tucked away in a crevice, so hidden no one had even thought to check it. "It's right where he said." Malik took one step closer, eyes glowing. "Uncle Carlos, take it out slow. I think it's full of something nasty." Carlos pulled it free, and the room collectively gasped. The filter was clogged, completely stuffed with thick, sticky gunk. It wasn't regular dirt. Either it was like half-burnt resin and melted oil had fused together into black tar. "Sweet mercy," Reggie murmured. "How'd you know?" Malik beamed. "The sound. When air don't move right, it's like trying to breathe through a pillow. It's not sharp, it's single quotes S. heavy. I heard that same sound on Mr. Leon's old Monte Carlo when it had a busted filter." The mechanic stood speechless. A 10-year-old had just taught them something they missed after 5 hours of diagnostics. Jose Roberto's chest swelled with pride. His son wasn't just watching, he was learning. How does a little boy know about this? Vivian asked, her tone no longer sharp but shaky confused. Malik turned to her, his tone humble. "I always stay at the shop. I watch my dad fix cars every day. I read the old auto magazines in the back, some talked about hidden filters. I just remember stuff like that." "You remembered it all?" Mr. Bennett asked. "Every detail?" Malik nodded. "When I see it or read it once, it sticks in my head." Carlos, still stunned, scrubbed the sticky filter clean, then reinstalled it carefully. "Let's test it." He turned the ignition. The Ferrari's engine roared back to life, smooth, deep, and powerful. The noise? Gone, clean as a Sunday. Morning. Everyone in the garage stood frozen. The silence after the engine's start said it all. Vivian blinked, her lips parted in disbelief. "It's fixed?" she whispered. Mr. Bennett nodded. "Perfect," he said. Vivian stared at Malik as if seeing him for the first time. "How did you do that?" Malik just shrugged. "I listen to cars. They talk through sounds. You just have to listen hard." Reggie put his hands on his head, laughing out of pure disbelief. "This boy's brain is made of engine parts." "Gift? Nah," Carlos said, looking at Malik like he was some kind of magic. "This ain't no gift. This is genius." Darius pulled Malik into a tight embrace, tears stinging his eyes. You saved the day," he whispered. "You made your daddy proud, son." For the first time that day, Vivian Caldwell stood without her money, her status, or her designer heels giving her power. Everything about her, her sharp tongue, her superiority was gone. She was just a woman staring at a child who had done something incredible. The same child she had humiliated just hours ago. How could a boy do what professionals couldn't? She asked, almost to herself. Malik smiled gently, brushing his hands on his jeans. "I just really love cars. That's all." Mr. Bennett stepped forward and placed a firm hand on Malik's shoulder. "I've been around engines for 40 years, he said. "But I've never met a child who could do what you just did." "I don't know how it works," Malik said, scratching his head. "But when I see or hear something about a car, I just remember it like it's stuck in my head forever." "You're 10? Carlos asked. "Yes, sir," Malik replied. "You're 10, Reggie echoed. "And just solved something trained engineers couldn't. That's not talent, that's destiny." Vivian, humbled and soft now, knelt in front of him. "Malik," she said gently, "do you have dreams? What do you want to do when you grow up?" Malik's face lit up like sunrise. "I want to be a car engineer. I want to build cars that don't pollute, ones that go fast but don't hurt the earth. I want to invent stuff people ain't seen yet." For a moment, nobody said a word. Vivian's throat tightened. There was something so pure in Malik's dream, so full of fire and hope, it made her chest ache. She lowered her head. "Malik, I owe you an apology," she said softly. "I treated you like you didn't belong." "I was wrong." Malik didn't gloat. He just nodded, calm as ever. "It's okay, ma'am. I just wanted to help." And in that garage, where wrenches clicked and engines roared, a boy had reminded everyone what real brilliance looks like. Not flashy, not loud. Just focused, humble, and full of love for what he did. Malik hadn't just fixed a car. He'd repaired broken pride. He'd restored dignity to a garage full of tired men. He'd changed a mind that had never been challenged. And above all, he'd proved that greatness can come in small grease-stained sneakers, with a voice just loud enough to be heard. Mrs. Langford's voice dropped to a level no one in the garage had heard before, not commanding, not angry, just human. She bent slightly to meet Malik's eyes, her jewelry catching the fluorescent light, but her face was bare of pride. "Malik," she said, voice steady but soft, "I owe you an apology." The entire shop froze again. Not a single wrench moved. The same woman who had stormed in like a queen now spoke like a neighbor who had just realized the child next door had magic in his hands. Malik blinked, unsure how to respond, still standing near the Ferrari. Grease on his fingers, sweat at his brow, but no fear in his stance. Darius stood motionless behind him, one hand on his heart, feeling something between disbelief and overwhelming pride. "I judged you before I knew your name," Mrs. Langford continued, shaking her head. "You fixed something no one else could. That's more than talent. That's brilliance." She turned to Mr. Ray, the shop's owner, her expression now all business, but a different kind of business. "I want to cover the service bill 3 times over, and more than that. I want to invest in Malik's future." The mechanics looked at each other in shock. "What do you mean?" Darius asked cautiously, still protective even now. "I serve on the board at Crenshaw Academy for Advanced Science," she said, standing tall. "They run a summer prep and mentorship program for gifted youth. If Malik is willing, I'll see to it he's enrolled, supported, and later considered for a full academic scholarship. He has a mind that deserves to be nurtured. This city can't afford to waste boys like him." Malik's mouth parted. "You're serious?" "As serious as the engine you just saved," Mrs. Langford said, almost smiling. "I came in here thinking I had the most valuable machine in the room. Turns out it was the boy I almost pushed aside." Darius crouched and pulled Malik into his arms, emotions breaking through after a day of humiliation, fear, and unexpected victory. "I told you," he whispered into his son's ear. "You were born for more than people can see." Mr. Ray cleared his throat and stepped forward. "In all my years running this place," he said, eyes wet behind his glasses, "I've never seen anything like that. Malik, you didn't just fix a Ferrari, you taught every one of us something today." The other mechanics came over, each clapping Malik on the shoulder. Big Leon, Travis, Miss Jules, no one said much, but the weight of their respect was heavy. Malik stood still, taking it all in, his chest rising with a quiet kind of pride. Outside, the Los Angeles sun dipped toward the skyline, and the Ferrari purred like a satisfied lion. But no one cared about the car anymore. All eyes were on the boy who listened not just with his ears, but with his soul. That night, in their small apartment near Baldwin Village, Malik lay on his bed, staring up at the cracked ceiling, whispering to himself, "I'm gonna build engines one day. Real ones, ones that change things." From the kitchen, where he was wiping down the counter with slow hands, Darius answered without hesitation, "You already have, son. You already have." 2 weeks later, Malik stood at the front gates of Crenshaw Academy for Advanced Science, holding a brand new backpack and wearing a crisp white polo that still had the tag itch near his neck. Darius had pressed his best slacks for the day, and even tried to brush Malik's hair in a straight line, though the curls had their own ideas. The academy's campus looked like something out of a movie. Glass buildings, tall trees, students. Walking with purpose. It smelled like fresh-cut grass and printer toner. Malik felt out of place, like a visitor in a museum where he wasn't allowed to touch anything. Mr. Ray had driven them there in his old pickup, parked right by the curb. Like a proud uncle. "You good, little man?" he asked as Malik stepped out. Malik nodded, gripping the strap of his backpack. His stomach was tight with nerves. Darius crouched and gave his son a firm look. "Remember," he said, "you ain't here just to survive this place. You here to shine. Don't shrink, Malik. Show them who you are." Inside, the program was intense, full of lectures, labs, design challenges. But the part that made Malik's eyes light up was the engineering garage. That was where students built small machines from scratch, drones, electric bikes, even solar-powered ovens. Malik spent hours there after classes, often staying until the janitor asked him gently to pack up. He built his first full prototype by the second month, an air-cooled engine model that could run on a soda can battery. When he presented it to the mentors, even the head engineer paused. "How long did it take you to figure out the air compression rate?" she asked. "I didn't figure it out," Malik said honestly. "I felt it. I could tell the airflow wasn't right, so I adjusted until it sounded clean." She blinked, stunned. It wasn't all easy. Some kids at the academy came from wealth kids with private tutors who talked about Ivy League schools like they were grocery stores. One boy, Bryson, made snide comments. "You from South LA, right? Y'all fix cars in your driveway? Cute." Malik ignored it. He'd heard worse, and every insult only fueled him. But one evening, after a long day of lectures and silent stares in the cafeteria, Malik came home and broke down. "I don't belong there," he whispered to Darius. "They're all smarter, richer. I can't even speak like they do." Darius sat beside him on the bed, quiet for a long time. Then he reached under the bed and pulled out an old toolbox, his father's. "See this wrench?" he said. "Ain't fancy, ain't shiny, but it's fixed more cars than any robot arm ever did. You don't need to sound like them. You don't need their money. You just need to keep showing up. Day by day, like this wrench." Malik wiped his face. "So just keep showing up?" "Every single day," Darius nodded. "And one day, they'll talk like you. Watch." Weeks turned to months. By winter, Malik had won the Junior Innovation Award at Crenshaw for designing a heat sensor that could detect early engine failure using only recycled parts. The story made it to a local newspaper. The headline read, "South Ella Boy Turns Junk into Genius." Mrs. Langford visited the shop again, not for her Ferrari this time, but just to drop off a folder of scholarship applications. "When the time comes," she said, handing it to Darius, "Malik will have options." Malik continued to grow, not just in knowledge, but in confidence. He started mentoring younger kids in the neighborhood, helping them with schoolwork, showing them how to build simple circuits with scrap wire and batteries. One of his little students, a girl named Tia, made a mini windmill that Malik swore worked better than his first project. "You got that spark too," he told her, grinning. Back at Crenshaw, Bryson eventually stopped making jokes. One day he even asked Malik for help with a coding assignment. Malik didn't gloat. He just explained the solution like a teacher would. That's who he was becoming now. By the time his summer program ended, Malik had built a reputation as one of the brightest minds the academy had seen in years. They invited him back the next summer and offered to waive the fee the night he got the acceptance letter. Darius made red beans and rice with cornbread, his best recipe, and poured 2 glasses of sparkling cider. To the boy who listens to engines talk, he toasted. Malik clinked his glass. To the dad who taught me how to hear him. Outside, the city lights blinked softly. Somewhere in the distance, cars rumbled down Crenshaw Boulevard. But in that little apartment, in that small kitchen where love was thick in the air, the future of black brilliance sat between 2 plates of food and a dream that refused to be silenced.